Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm humbled to stand before you today, speaking on behalf of House Bill 4320 and on behalf of every baby whose screams go unheard as they are dismembered in their mother's womb. This legislation that I sponsored with strong support from many of our colleagues will put an end to the barbaric practice of dismemberment or D&E abortion in our state of Michigan. Dismemberment abortion, or dilation and evacuation, commonly referred to as D&E procedure, is a gruesome, horrific, and cruel abortion procedure whereby a tiny baby in its mother's womb, in many cases they're still alive, are literally ripped apart and extracted from the womb. It is unconscionable to me that this type of abortion exists. It is long past due that this gruesome practice is ended. According to the data published by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, there were 1,777 D&E abortions in Michigan in 2017. That is nearly 5 dismemberment abortions per day, every day. This method of dismembering a live baby in the womb is not recognized as humane in any other culture, yet it has become commonplace in Michigan and across the United States. In China, where there are far more abortions performed annually than in the U.S., medical abortion is the most common second trimester procedure, not dismemberment. Dismemberment abortions are typically performed on babies that are between 13 and 24 weeks gestation. Babies younger than 13 weeks are usually killed using the D&C method, and babies older than 24 weeks are usually killed with a lethal injection of digoxin to the heart before their mother's labor is induced. At 13 weeks, babies have arms, legs, fingers, toes, eyelids, a nose, and lips. They are perfectly formed miracles and completely recognizable as a human baby. Their hearts beat blood through their tiny bodies, just as each person in this chamber's heart does for them at this very moment. The unfortunate babies who are between 13 and 24 weeks old, whose mothers choose abortion, will have their arms, legs torn off of their body one by one while they are still very much alive. This allows the abortionist to more easily extract the baby's torso and head from its mother's womb much swifter than any medically induced abortion. To quote Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy, the fetus in many cases dies just as a human adult or child would. It bleeds to death as it's torn limb from limb. Doctors go to medical school to become healers. The Hippocratic Oath vows never do harm. This oath is a reminder that a physician's role is to heal, not to harm. While all surgical procedures carry some risk of harm, their intent is to provide healing for the patient. The explicit intent of abortion in the abortionist, however, is to kill a human baby. Dismemberment abortions put the practitioner in the role of destroyer of life instead of protector of life. In the Supreme Court decision Sternberg versus Carhart, it was said that states also have an interest in forbidding medical procedures in which, in the state's reasonable determination, might cause the medical profession or society as a whole to become insensitive, even disdainful to life, including the human fetus. The D&E abortion causes a devaluation of human life precisely because of the gruesome and barbaric nature of this procedure. While some may argue that this legislation restricts a woman's right to choose to have an abortion, I would like to emphasize that it does not. This legislation is a voice for the weakest in our society, the unborn children that without us have no voice. When the country was debating the constitutionality of partial birth abortion a few years ago, the restriction argument was made. Please note that there is no undue burden in banning certain types of abortion procedures, if and when there are alternatives. Our state, and more importantly, her citizens, have the right, or I believe the duty, to defend human life against atrocities in the womb, including partial birth abortion and dismemberment abortion. Since the introduction of House Bills 4320 and 21 in March, I have been contacted by men and women from across our state, self-described pro-choice and pro-lifers. On this issue, the issue of dismemberment abortion, their message has been loud and clear. They are in favor of stopping this gruesome, cruel, soulless procedure. During my many hours of research for this bill, I kept returning to one question. Would we be here debating this if we could hear the screams of these babies as their limbs are being torn off one by one and they are bleeding to death inside their mother? Colleagues, I ask for your support of House Bill 4320 and 4321. Please make Michigan a more caring and protective state, championing a society that values the weakest and most helpless among us. Please join me in ending dismemberment abortion in our great state of Michigan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.